So welcome everybody. My name is Carol Bush. I am the marketing manager here for Experience Plus, and we're excited to have you join us. This is our first webinar ever, so if things seem a little bumpy at times, just bear with us. We're still learning all the finer points about how to use this platform. Joining us today is Joan Escosura from Spain. Maria Elena Price, she is the owner of Experience Plus. And I'm just going to give you a couple of, I'm just say a couple things before I punch it over to Emmy, but I wanted to give you an overview of what we're going to do today. First, Maria Elena is going to talk a little bit about Experience Plus, and then she's going to have Joan get to the bulk of our presentation today about our 3 classic tours that we offer in Spain. And if you're new to Experience Plus, we have 5 different types of 5 styles of touring, and classic is our original. It's what most of our tours are. Those classic tours come with tour leaders, with fan support, with traveler services. The nuances of all of our tour styles are available on our website. Emmy, if you get a chance, maybe you can drop the link for our tour styles page into the chat. And then we are going to save all of your questions until Joan is finished talking about the 3 tours. You can post your questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring those, and Emmy is going to feed those to Joan. And then when we're finished with all that, just as a way of closing, I'm going to share with you a little bit more about how you can get connected to a tour and to more information from us. So with that, Emmy, I'd love for you to take over.
I can do that. Okay, so that means I'm going to take control of the slides as well. Excellent, thank you. Well, so we probably have a split here from what I can tell, the recognizing of the names of people who have traveled and have not traveled with us. So I'll try and keep this brief. My name is Maria Elena Price, and me and my sister, Monica Price, own Experience Plus. Our parents are pictured here in this photo, and they started the business back in 1972, and we love this photo. This is the first bike tour that ever pedaled from Pisa across the Apennines to Forlì. We look a little bit different now when we get on our bikes, but it's always fun to see what it was like back in 1972. We run about 170 guided tours throughout the world, mostly in Europe, but also in Cuba and Chile and Argentina. We have 2 bases. Our official headquarters is in Colorado, Fort Collins, where we do all of our sales, marketing, departure planning, and where we answer most people's questions and manage all of the pre-trip planning for all of our travelers. And then in Italy is actually where my sister is based. We have a separate company that runs the operations that manage most of our tours. And that's where we have all of our bikes. All of our tour leaders go there to pick up vans and bikes for any trips going throughout Europe. So that's just a very brief rundown about us. A few highlights about how we design our trips and a little bit of the ethos that surrounds our philosophy in cycling and bike touring. On our classic tours, we do navigate with chalk arrows. The goal is to let everybody ride at their own pace. We feel strongly that the bike is an independent vehicle so that you don't have to worry about trying to keep up or try, if you want to stop and take that photo or stop and have that coffee, you should be able to and not worry about what the rest of the folks are doing. And we manage the navigation with these chalk arrows on all of our classic and bike and boat and expedition trips. This particular photo was taken probably about 15 years ago with an old fleet of bicycles. Joan and I were reminiscing. I think maybe he or I even took that photo, but that is in Spain on the Camino de Santiago. So it's, we really, as I said, feel that the cycling part of this matters, but also the independent part of this matters. And we enable that through worry-free navigation, and hopefully all the logistics are planned as well. Of course, one of the most important parts about travel is to meet people and to understand the local culture and to truly get to know a place. And that we do that through our tour designs with various visits, but also just by the way we we create certain experiences. We have guided trips, we have tastings depending on where you're at. It's embedded in the trip design, and Joan will probably talk about how each of the trips in Spain do that. And of course, the comforts of going with a guided trip is that ideally you don't have to worry about anything. We've planned all the logistics. On our classic tours, we even do pre and post trip planning for you. We will help with arrival and departure hotels and logistics for getting to the meeting of the tour and departing from the tour. On tour, we have a van and 2 or 3 tour leaders on our guided classic trips. And the point is that you should be out there, you're on your vacation, and you shouldn't be worrying about anything except for where your next coffee stop is. If you haven't traveled with us, we like to give a little bit of a rundown on the logistics of what a day on tour looks like, just so you can picture it. Also, because we're talking about specific trips, this won't be brought up. Joan is talking more about the highlights of each tour, not necessarily how a tour runs. So this is a very brief outline about what to expect on a day on tour. We have breakfast in every hotel. All hotels and breakfast are always included. And we do have a time that we ask for people to bring their luggage down because the van is usually loading. And then we have a arrows down time usually, which is when we suppose people leave, because that's when the arrows have been set on the classic trips. Coffee and lunch spots are generally marked by our scout who's out there marking the route, but we also have information in your digital experiences that explains what towns we're going to go through, gives you some highlights, and also suggests where to stop for snacks. We don't generally have group lunches because part of that independence is to not feel like you're rushed to try and get somewhere. And most of our destinations, there's cafes every 15, 20 kilometers, especially in Europe. In places where lunches are harder to find, we do provide packed lunches or picnics or meet together for lunch. Once you get to the hotel, your tour leader is usually there to greet you and your luggage is in your room. And then sometimes there's an afternoon gathering for an activity if we're maybe doing a guided walk of the town or going to dinner together. There's also always a note that explains what to see in town, because one of the points of traveling is to explore new places. So we hope that you take some time after relaxing to go out and explore town. Or sometimes we're out in the countryside and it's a nice chance to jump into the pool or have a beer on the cafe and on the patio with a view. It all depends on where you're at. That's a very quick logistical rundown of the day, but hopefully it gives you a flavor of what to expect. From here, I think I'll have Joan take over.
Okay.
If you want to.
I will. Well, my name is Joan Escosura. I was born 46 years ago in Barcelona, in Spain. And I get to know ExperiencePlus. It was through internet back in the days, the beginning of internet, I would say, at least for me. And basically, I jumped in as a guide. I love cycling and I like to travel. I studied tourism before. I was more into the business travel kind of style. And then I moved into the sport and more leisure travel. And that's where ExperiencePlus show up. And I thought, wow, that could be a good thing to try. And I started guiding. And through the years, I started also managing some tours, as long as the company was increasing the number of tours and also the areas that they were working, especially Germany and Portugal. And those are the 3 areas that I take care of and where I mostly guide. Lately, I've been guiding less and managing more because it gives you more time to stay at home, which I think that through the years, it's something that when you have family and so on, everybody understands that it makes more sense. So the way we want to organize that basically is I'm going to make a short comparison about the 3 tours. I say short, I will try to make it short, I promise. I don't say I will succeed, but I will try. And then we will jump into each tour and we're going to talk a little bit day by day of every tour. Also very, very short, just a short description of what's going on every day, a little bit, and the highlights, okay? So we use those maps that you can see to give a clear idea of where each tour happens. This first tour we're going to talk about is the Camino de Santiago. It was the first tour that the company started in Spain. It starts in the Pyrenees, as you can see in this in the green rhombus, and then it goes all the way to the coast, to the Atlantic in Galicia. In terms of another thing we want to talk about is how the different tours that we have in terms of how you can start or end. And that's interesting because the 3 tours we're going to talk about are the 3 good examples. For example, in the Camino, you can start in the beginning, which is Roncesvalles, and go all the way to the end, or you can just start in the middle of the tour in León, in the blue dot, and go all the way to the end. So you can just do the entire thing or the second week, okay? In terms of difficulty, the Camino de Santiago, I would say it's medium-high, depending on if you do the entire tour or just do half of it, okay? It's interesting because it's a very rural part of Spain that we go through. Also, it's interesting because it's one of the tours that has more landscape changing in Spain. You go from the mountains, you have the wine region from La Rioja, then you get to see the high plateau of La Meseta. Basically, it's a wheat field area. And then you get into Galicia, which is much greener. There's much more rain. It's very different. I would say that the highlights of this tour, the first one is the fact it's a pilgrimage. That makes it really unique. Not only the pilgrimage, but also the effects of the pilgrimage, the camaraderie among the travelers, everybody seeking for the same goal. And yeah, I would say that that tour, through my experience, is one of the tours that engages more the people, because no matter if people travel because of religion purposes or because of just sport or for whatever reason, they all get into the sense and the family and the feeling of the Camino. And this is really cool because this is something that we have experienced that through the years, and people, they really get great experiences. And the fact of everybody finishing in Santiago, it's really cool. I think it's a tour it's one of those tours that everybody should do at least once in their life. It's very unique. So the next one I'm going to talk about is Andalucía. You can see this one happens in the south of Spain, okay? This tour, it's in the way that it's organized, it's like a 2-leg tour, okay? You can do the first week, which would be Sevilla to Córdoba, the second week, which will be from Córdoba to Granada, or both weeks, okay? In terms of difficulty, I would say that this is slightly harder than the Camino if you do the entire thing, because there's more climbing included among the entire trip. Nevertheless, we have organized our tours in a way that if people that they don't have the, let's say, the physical level to do the entire thing, we always offer shuttles. We try to make the shuttles in a way that people, they get rid of the toughest part and they still can ride what it's interesting and more doable for them. Andalusia, it's very, very, very unique. For me, it's very special. It was the first tour I lead with ExperiencePlus with Marilena there quite some years ago. And Andalusia is very unique because, as you know, Andalusia it's the south of Spain. It was occupied during 800 years by the Moors, and there's a footprint there, not only in gastronomy, not only in construction, but also in how people live. There's a complete different sense and way of style in Andalusia than in the rest of Spain. That makes it very, very interesting. Not to talk about some of the really, really, really unique things in the world that you get to see there, like, for example, the Mosque of Cordoba, or the Alhambra in Granada, or Sevilla itself, all the old town of Sevilla. It's really cool. I would say that another of the highlights would be the fact that we go through very off the beaten path areas where you get to see no single tourist, only us, and that reflects on how the locals behave among us, because it's different when you are somewhere where you have a lot of tourists and people is used to see them, or when you are in places that they don't see that much tourism. The interaction between locals and riders is very different. Then the olive trees. Andalusia has the biggest concentration of olive trees in the entire world. And the scenic rides. We have some great hills there with great climbs and great descents. And if you are, if you are seeking for some challenging and beautiful rides, this is also a very good destination. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about Catalonia. This is a tour that is also very special for me because I kind of proposed the company putting it together. We went there with Maria Elena many years ago, and I think we came up with an interesting tour. This one is the easiest among the 3 of the Spanish tours. This is the easiest. In Catalonia, it's different in the style of how it's organized, because you can start basically you start in Girona, and you can do just the first section all the way to Figueras, and then step out from the tour, or do the entire thing all the way to Barcelona with an extension, okay? Which would be one of the characteristics of this area. Catalonia is one of the wealthiest and more developed areas in Spain, and that translates in, I would say, higher level of services. That's why Catalonia is one of the, and especially Girona, where most of the tour happens, is one of the areas with more Michelin star restaurants in not only in Spain, but also in the world. We get to go to very good restaurants there. And the highlights, I would say that first is the cultural highlights. Dalí, the famous painter, not only because we go to his museum in Figueres, but also because we get to go to where he had his summer house and where he used to get inspired. And visiting this area first and then going to the museum a few days after, I think it's really cool. Then I would say also the modernism. As you know, Barcelona is the capital of the modernism in the entire world. And yeah, it's if you are into different architecture, modernism for sure is something that's it's gonna impact you because it's something very unique. Then the Costa Brava with the rugged coast and those small beaches and coastal, caves, and so this is really cool. The gastronomy, as I say, and also the high tourism development, which sometimes it can be something not that nice when you have too many houses and so on. But then it can be very cool when it goes to the bike lanes and how everything is organized to give good service to the travelers. Then Barcelona itself and some of the coastal rides, which are really, really beautiful. So now we're going to jump to the first tour, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Camino de Santiago. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to be very concise because, every tour has more or less between 12 and 14 days, so I don't want to extend too much. So we start the tour in Pamplona. We pick up the guests in Pamplona and we shuttle them to Roncesvalles. Roncesvalles is in the border with France. Okay, you can see here it says 790 kilometers all the way to Santiago. Roncesvalles is in the mountains, is in the Pyrenees, very green. It's very Basque because this is Navarra, but it's a Basque area, and this is a very, very interesting start of the tour. We go to a mass. It's an international mass. We encourage everybody to go, even if they are not there because of religion, but it's really cool to see all those travelers from worldwide gathering there, kind of starting their adventure. From there, we go to Puente la Reina. Puente la Reina is a cool, not, I would say, medium small town. Puente la Reina, before getting there, you get to see this church that you see in the left. It's an octagonal church. It's something super unique. And Puente la Reina, it's also in Navarra. Navarra, it's historically part of the Basque Country Kingdom, let's say. It's been always a very, let's say, rich in terms of gastronomy. So, and there you start to feel the approach to La Rioja, the wine region. And there's where we go when we go to La Guardia. La Guardia is not only an airport in the US, as you know, it's the name of a town, which basically means the guard, because that was an area that they were kind of containing the Moors, and this beautiful town is on the top of the hill. You can see that on the left, and it's surrounded by wheat fields and vineyards. It's very interesting. We enjoy their wine tasting, and we stay in a castle. It's kind of a modern castle, but it's really cool. And the owner of the castle, who is our host, it's a charm and very good cook also. From there, we go to Santo Domingo de la Calzada. Santo Domingo de la Calzada is a very Camino-style town. We stay there in an old monastery, which has been turned into a hotel. It's really cool because it gives you the sense of how pilgrims were kind of feeling back in the days, where sometimes one of the hospices would be a monastery or sometimes just the outdoors of the monastery. Good for us, we stay inside with all the comfort of nowadays, let's say, travel standards. From there, we hit Burgos. Burgos has one of the most spectacular cathedrals, at least from the outside. You can see it now in the photo in the left. And as the town is very vibrant in Spain, we are a lot into street life, bars, tapas, and so on. That night, for example, dinner is on your own, because as we mentioned before, some of the dinners are included, some not. And Burgos has a great, astonishing offer of bars. If you want to go just for tapas or you want to go for a real meal and sit, it's a really interesting place to sit too. From there, we go to Carrión de los Condes. It's interesting because we get to travel through history sometimes in Spain. And this is a cool example here in the photo on the left. What you see there, that used to be a huge monastery, which nowadays most of it it's broken down. And the way they build the road goes below one of the arches. In fact, two of the arches of the old monastery. This is really cool. Also, we stay in an old building in Carrión de los Condes, which used to be also a monastery. Part of it is still active as a monastery, and part of it has been turned into a hotel. From there, we get to León. León is very interesting. It's one of my favorite cities. When I was talking before about modernism, it's interesting because here on the top on the left, you can see a modernism building, which was designed by Gaudí. It's one of the first buildings that Gaudí designed and constructed, and it's not in Catalonia. This is very interesting. León, we stay right in the main square, and it's very cool because the day we leave from the hotel, we stay 2 nights in León, and the day we leave, we have this. They basically build this day market in front of the hotel. And it's really cool because people have the chance to get out, buy some fruit, and get to see how a real local market is. Also, León Cathedral, it's known as the cathedral without walls because it has these huge, beautiful glass windows that you can see in one of the photos, and it's really, really interesting too. Next stop, we go to Astorga. On the right, you can see one of the I would say one of the cyclist nightmares, which is the cobblestone. This is Castillo de los Polvazares. That was declared one of the most beautiful towns in Spain like 4 or 5 years ago. And on the left, you see again another building design by Gaudí, also outside from Catalonia. In this case, it's this town of Astorga, which is also famous because of its chocolate. From there, we go to Canedo. Canedo, it's getting into Galicia. Canedo, it's this area. It's a area that is. They also have wine because there we get off the meseta. We get into a lower area. There are valleys with much more different crops. La meseta is basically wheat, and here you get to see wine, fruit, all kind of fruits, etc., etc. And the photo on top of the left, that's very famous because it's a place where people is supposed to throw a stone. People are supposed to take a stone from home and drop it there in a way to get rid of your sins on the way to Santiago. This is very cool. And the photo below is our hotel, which they produce their own wine, and it's surrounded by vineyards. From there, we keep on going. And our next destination is Samos. Samos is in Galicia already. Galicia is also very different. You see a big difference from León to Galicia. And we stay in a manor house there. And also we have a visit to a very, very big monastery, Monasterio de Samos. This is very cool. One of the folks, they did one of the monks is the one who does the visit. One of the guides usually translates because they don't speak English. And we have sometimes to encourage them to go faster because they have so much to explain because there's so much history behind those walls, you can imagine. From there, we go to Portomarín. Portomarín, it's another tiny village in the middle of Galicia. It's right next to a reservoir, and it's one of the experiences of the tour, I will say, because there the guy Mario, he performs a queimada. A queimada is this thing you can see on the left. This is a pot where they have a kind of we call it aguardiente, would be like a grappa, where they burn it, they put some slices of lemon, some coffee beans, and they let it burn for many time, and they make a conjuro, which is a kind of a spell in order to get rid of the bad spirits. And this is very fun. And at the end, you get to drink the queimada, which is it has a kind of special flavor. It's not super strong because it's been burning for hours, but it's something very unique. It's very Galician that let's say this experience. From there we go to Andeade. Andeade, it's for me it's like the door of Santiago because that's the day before, and after 2 weeks of cycling, you can almost smell Santiago. You're so close. That day we stop in Melide, and we suggest people to eat octopus. We know that for us eating, I mean, in Spain we almost eat everything, let's put it that way. And for some people from different countries, they are not that much into some flavors and textures. We encourage people to try the octopus, because even people say, no, I don't like octopus. I tried and I didn't like it. We say, go for it, try it, because it is different. And most of the people, they love it. It's very typical from Galicia, this way of cooking the octopus. And we also stay in a manor house, which I don't know how old it is, but it's a really, really old place, and it's really, really cool too. And from there, finally, we get into Santiago. This is the Santiago Cathedral, where the Apostle Santiago is buried. And this square, you get to see all the pilgrims arriving there, you know, like laying in the floor, some of them crying, you know, embracing one each other. It's a vibrant moment. It's really touching. You just stay there for half an hour, and you constantly get to see people arriving and leaving, and how they feel when they finally achieve their goal, no? The final destination, which is Santiago. As I say, this is one of the most special tours because of the fact of the pilgrimage. Okay, I'm gonna be moving forward, and we're gonna move south now to Andalusia. Andalusia tour starts in Seville. You probably all heard about Seville. Seville is an interesting combination between the tradition from Andalusia, you know, all this lifestyle, you know, the flamenco, this idea of the, you know, the bullfighting. I mean, it's very intense and let's say, and traditional. And on the other hand side, you can see on the right photo, this very modern building. They have been able to kind of adapt Sevilla to the new times. And it has a very interesting blending between the traditions from Andalusia and trying to be a more, you know, modern cosmopolitan city, okay? There from Seville, we go outside from the town and we get to hit Carmona. This is something that we're gonna see almost everywhere in Spain, the different layers of history, okay? Carmona was probably was originated by the, I don't know, I think it was the Cartagineses, then it was the Romans, and then it was the Arabs, and then it was the Christians, and you get to see sometimes the blending of styles and some leftovers from previous cultures. This is something that happens a lot all over Europe, but especially in the south. Carmona is one good example of that. We get to see different crops outside of town, especially orange and tangerines, that you get to see a lot outside of Seville. After Carmona, we hit the hills and we go to Constantina. Constantina, it's interesting because you get to see the dehesas. The dehesas, it would be like a ranch. You will call it a ranch in the US. And that is where they grew two important things. One is the bulls for the bullfighting. Don't worry, there are fences so they don't get into the road. If they get into the road, you better hurry and rush. And the other things you will see in the dehesas is the Iberic porks. Those porks that they are not pink, they are black, and they are the porks that in Spain we use to do the ham, the Iberic ham. Something very cool in Constantina, we go to this historical building. I'm not going to talk about the building because it's a complete different chapter, but the guy who runs the place, he makes a paella for us, and we get the opportunity of help him to do the paella, so we learn how to do a paella, and I think this is very cool. You don't only enjoy a great meal, but you learn how to do it, and you can try to do it and replicate it at home. From there, we will head to Palma del Rio. Palma del Rio, we will be seeing outside of it in the dehesas. There's different trees, acorns, when they want them to feed the porks, and sometimes you get to see the cork trees. What you see in the middle, this is a cork tree. And this red color is because it's been recently peeled off, and then the trunk is red. And when through the years, they do that every, was it 14, 15 years? Something like that. It's the time that they take to, you know, to grow the cork. And they look red when they are just peeled, and then they go darker, like the upper part of the tree you can see here. We have a picnic that day. You can see on the right, on the bottom on the right, in a reservoir, really beautiful spot. And a piece of history here. We sleep in a monastery. That monastery in Palma del Rio was where Christopher Columbus slept before heading to the Americas. This is a great piece of history for you guys. Getting to sleep in the same place that Columbus slept. Sorry. From there, we head to Cordoba. Cordoba, we stayed 2 nights in Cordoba. There's so much to say about Cordoba. I would say that Cordoba is the capital of flamenco. We give you the opportunity of visiting the Flamenco Cardenal, which is probably one of the best flamenco shows in Spain. And then the second day, we have the visit of the Mosque of Cordoba. The Mosque of Cordoba, for me, probably it's the most beautiful building we have in Spain. We have a lot of beautiful buildings, but this one is really special. I mean, the way that the Arabs designed that, it's a masterpiece, definitively. And then on the right photo, you can see at the very end, that's the mosque. And what you can see on the left part of the photo, this is the Roman bridge that you cross to get into Cordoba. And at the very end, there is like a Roman door. Again, this layer, this superposition of different layers of history, which you find all over in Spain. From there, we get to Zueros. Zueros is the area that you start to get in what I call the olive trees ocean or the olive trees sea. Spain is the country with the biggest area of olive tree plantation. And I call it the olive tree sea because there's some spots, like for example, where the hotel is located. Basically, you look around and you can just see hills filled and covered with those olive trees. This is something very, very unique. I guess it happens also in some areas in Greece or in southern Italy, but Andalucía is the area that has more olive trees in the entire world. Here on the right side, you have a good example of what I was explaining. And Jaén is the capital of the olive tree in Spain. You see some bigger mountains here, beautiful, and as I say, all them covered by olive trees. There we go to Úbeda. We stay 2 nights in Úbeda too. Úbeda, it's completely different. Úbeda, it's not Arab construction. It was constructed by the Christians. It's a Renaissance town, and we get to Úbeda was a pottery town. I mean, they have a lot of clay, and there used to be like hundreds of pottery places there. Now, very few are left because they are more just focused for tourism, not anymore for general construction like they were originally designed for. And we get to visit the Tito's pottery, which is one of the most interesting in town, I would say. From there, we go to Benalúa de Guadix. It's difficult to see here in the photo. Well, we have a winery visit, but in the center, this photo in the center, what you see there, this is our hotel, and this is a cave. You get to sleep in a cave in Benalúa de Guadix, which it can sound like strange, but this area is so hot that from many, many years ago, people started to build their houses inside of the mountain because it was much cooler. When there was no AC, that was the way to stay cool. And it's very interesting because I don't think you will have more chances to live in a cave with comfort, of course. And we get to the final destination. This is Granada. Granada has one of the, I would say it's pretty close, but for me, it's not as, I mean, me personally, I think it's more beautiful, the Mosque of Cordoba, but the Alhambra of Granada for sure is not too far in terms of design and how beautiful it is. And what you can see here, it's the photo in the center, it's the Lion's Patio, this is called, and then the left is the Alhambra from the outside, which doesn't look like spectacular, but the Alhambra is spectacular inside, not outside. And on the right, you can see the Albaicín, which was the old Arab neighborhood in Granada, which nowadays is like the trendiest and liveliest neighborhood in town. So I'm moving forward because I think I'm overdoing with the explanations. And we get to our third and last tour. This is the Catalonia tour. It's called basically Catalonia Costa Brava plus Barcelona. What you see here is an example of the Costa Brava. Costa Brava means rugged coast, which basically means that it's a coast which is not flat and is not straight. It's all, those small rocks and small bays. It's spectacular. I mean, it was one of the first tourist tourism destinations in Spain, because it was close to France and also because of its because of how beautiful it is, and still nowadays it's one of the, I would say, one of the most valued tourist areas in Spain for those who are seeking for beach, ocean, and this kind of landscape. We start in Girona, the tour. Girona, I don't know if you heard about it. Girona, it's at least in Spain, is probably the capital of cyclism. It's like a mecca. You go there, it's plenty of bars that they are focused for cyclists. It's plenty of companies that they do performance tours, or, I mean, it's super lively when it goes into bikes. As you know, Lance Armstrong was living there. In fact, he was staying in the hotel that we stay. He was living there for, I think, 1 year or something like that. Then he bought also a house there. And for many years, most of the pros, and still nowadays, they moved there because they were kind of escaping a little bit from the Alps, because they were chased by the French authorities because of all the scandals with the EPO and so on. And that's how Girona became the mecca of the cyclism. But it's not only the mecca of the cyclism, it's a really beautiful town, medieval town with one of the most interesting Jewish neighborhoods in Spain. And it's also one of the cities with more Michelin star. In fact, the Celler de Can Roca, I don't know if you ever heard about it, which was declared more than 1 year the best restaurant in the world, it's there. From there, we go to Sagaró. Sagaró is in the coast. You can see the photo from those two ladies in the middle. That's our hotel. The beach is behind, and the beautiful blue water right after it. And yeah, from there we keep on moving and we go to Peratallada. In Peratallada we stay 2 nights. Peratallada, it's interesting because this area, it's like a flatter area next to it's like between Girona and the Costa Brava. And there's a lot of medieval towns. And there's not only medieval towns, there is also, I mean, nearby we have one of the biggest Greek sites in Spain. Well, not the biggest Greek site in Spain, and also the biggest pre-Roman site in Spain. Those guys were the Ibers. Those were the guys that they were living in Spain before, in the Iberian Peninsula, before the Romans show up, and we get to see this amazing, well-preserved Iber site that day. And also that day we have a pottery visit too. Because in Spain we are still to pottery. And as I say, we stayed 2 nights there. And the second day we have also wine tasting. Very interesting wine tasting because it's oriented in a historical way. It's really cool. The lady comes to the hotel and she performs her show, and it's completely historically oriented. It's a completely different kind of a wine tasting. From there, we go to Cadaqués. Cadaqués is probably the most well-known coastal town in Catalonia, at least, and we also get to spend there 2 nights because it's just worth staying there 2 nights. It's beautiful. We have an amazing dinner there. I would say probably the best dinner I would say we have in all the tours in Spain. For me, it's here in Cadaqués, and the site is just gorgeous. Something really cool. The day we leave from Cadaqués towards Figueras, we take a boat. We go through the Cap de Creus and we get to see the Cap de Creus and the Costa Brava from the ocean. It's a completely different perspective. And as you can see here, we go to the Dalí Museum. This guy, the X, and all these surrealistic masterpieces that he created and designed. People that they only want to do the short version of this tour, then the day we get into Figueras, the day after is when they leave the tour. And those who want to go to Barcelona, they have like 3-4 more days all the way to Barcelona. From Figueras, we go to Olot. Olot is it's more inland. It's I would say it's like this area is like the heart of Catalonia because it's the area they feel more Catalan. I would say Olot and Vic and so on. And it's completely different. We quit the coast. This is an area that used to have, well, it's a volcanic area, and it's very different than the rest of the sites that we get to see in Catalonia. From there, we go to Vic. Vic, for me, it's the hidden gem from this tour because it's a really beautiful town. It even has a huge Roman temple, and nobody knows about it. There's almost no tourism, and it's great for visiting. It's great for food. It has a very good selection of restaurants. This is one of the nights that we have a free dinner, so you can get to go wherever you want. We offer you a lot of choices. And then the next day, we have something very funny. On the morning, we have a visit to an artisanal producer of cured meats. And people, you get to get dressed like a professional cured meat producer, and you get to see how they work and perform the typical Catalan sausages. And this is something that I don't know if people is offered that in other tours, but we like to do it, and people, they have a lot of fun. And that day we stay in Caldas. Caldas is in the outskirts of Barcelona, and it's a thermal town. It was founded by the Romans, and we have a spa in our hotel. And we getting close to the end, because from Caldas we jump into Barcelona. Barcelona, I'm not going to say much about Barcelona because everybody heard about Barcelona, but we want to finish the tour with something special, and we have a culinary dinner. We go to a place where there's some cooks that they perform an activity for us. It can be different depending on the group, but we kind of teach people how to cook a little bit, and we make like a competition a little bit, and people, they get to eat what they have cooked, plus some things that the local cooks prepare for us. So now, having said that, I'm gonna pass the word and let you keep on going. Hello?
Thank you, Joan.
You're welcome. I hope I
No.
didn't overdo. I tried to make
No,
it
No,
short.
you did
you're
it
doing
great.
great. You're doing great on time.
I think I need to bring the show back up though. Yeah, has it disappeared completely?
Yeah, it somehow
Yeah,
disappeared.
Okay,
I don't know if it
no
was me that
worries.
make it disappear.
Absolutely, it was you. But that's.
How
I was trying to
come?
make you feel at ease. No, it's all
How
good.
come?
It's right back. We're right back at it.
Oh
So
gosh,
I mean,
sorry
we'll
about that.
continue. It's all good. Oops, that's.
There you are.
Yeah, let's go to the. I'll find the right slide.
There you go.
Oh,
We'll
sorry
see
about
Well,
y'all. You're
if
good.
anybody has any questions, we've got plenty of time for some questions. We also have a couple of other tidbits to finish up with, but we wanted to keep it open to questions. You can drop them in the chat if you can get to the chat button. We've also been putting some links in the chat to the actual trip itineraries online. If we don't have many, one thing I did want to comment on is Spain is a special place for me as well. I guided for many years before I was sitting in the office and doing a lot more office work. I was out on tour myself for many years with Joan for many years in his first almost 10 years of trips. And I think that Spain is a little bit of a proxy for the legacy of a lot of our tours. We've actually been running a version of the Camino since 1997. And we've been running a version of Andalucía since 2004. And we've been running a version of Catalonia since 2013. So these trips have endured quite a long time. We got a question from Jan about e-bike options and whether we can do e-bikes on some days and regular bike on other days. Generally, we don't mix e-bikes and regular bikes on tour. That's a good question because it just doubles up on the resource and the availability of that particular bike. We can talk more details offline and you can always call in and check, but we would just recommend sticking with one type of bike throughout the whole trip. And I would say one thing we've found with as more and more people are taking e-bikes, and the nice thing about e-bikes is we have a couple of different types of e-bikes. We have e-hybrid bikes that are more upright, and we also have e-road bikes now that actually can even be used without the assist that are much more efficient. In fact, they have a lower power battery so that they have to be used more efficiently so you don't run out, but that might be an interesting option. For those who are actually kind of straddling, don't feel like you really need an e-bike for the whole trip, but maybe you want it to help the boost. We found the e-road bikes to actually be a really good solution for that if you're comfortable on a road bike. I hope that helped answer that question.
Yeah, I would say that also because of comfort. using the same bike all the days really helps compared to changing from one bike to the other in the same trip.
Yeah.
I will put a link to our bikes page here in the chat so you can take a look at the type of bikes that we offer.
Yeah, and if you guys have any other questions about logistics or the trips themselves, this is a good example of one just about what the options are.
We will be having our, just to mention a little bit about the future planning, our 2025 tour dates will be coming out around the beginning of April. Right now, we still have plenty of space on tours in 2024 in Spain. And we do have some new tours in development in Spain that we'll be announcing in a couple of months. So that's something to look forward to as well. But yeah, feel free to drop a question into the chat. I don't know, Joan, is there anything else that comes to mind for you that you wanted to say that you were concerned about time and didn't get to?
No, I mean, I would say that that Spain is slightly different from well, all the countries are different, but I would say that Spain is pretty unique compared to other ones, and I would say especially if you head to the south, like if you go to Andalusia, because we like to say that we are the south of the north and the north of the south. Probably this is kind of the same feeling you can get in Italy somehow, because those countries that they are, they cover a long range, well, long for our European size. Don't think about the American size, okay? But you get to see a lot of difference between the south and the north of Spain, inside of the country itself. But also, I mean, you get to see a big difference between what is like Center Europe and where we are located. And
Yeah.
this covers all, I would say, all the things. I mean, not only in terms of construction, but also in lifestyle, because I think that there's like a big jump from, let's say, southern France and northern Spain. And I think it's more or less the same in Italy. If you go to northern Italy and you go to Austria, I mean, it's like just a mountain range, but you see a big difference between lifestyle. This is much more street. I think it's like the kind of like the Mediterranean vibe somehow that you can feel all over the coast of the Mediterranean, no matter if you are in Italy or maybe you are in southern France, will have it too, but Spain more, and also, for example, Croatia, you have the same. For me, it's funny because traveling in this same, let's say, latitude, there's so many things that they are the same. And then when you jump north, you go like to medium northern France, or you go to Germany, it's like a completely different style of life.
Yeah. One question, actually, speaking of timing a little bit, Joan, there was a question about what's the best time of year for some of these, and the best weather. Do you want to talk briefly about each trip? And then we have another very specific question about the Catalonia tour, which we can also quickly answer for everybody.
Talking about weather, this is a work in progress, I would say, because I've seen so many changes on the weather on Spain. I would say since I started guiding to now. I mean, it's been very different. Usually we don't get bad weather. I mean, the time we run the tours, it's basically you will have, if you're unlucky, you're going to have like 2 or 3 days that you may have some showers, and that's it. If you have more than that, you should buy a lottery number because you're going to win it for sure, because we don't get like that many days of bad weather in a row. I would say that in terms of beautiness, I prefer spring, because we are a little bit of a southern country and the summer here is pretty dry. So usually we have the tours in Spain, or either in the spring or in the early fall. In the early fall, it's been drier throughout the summer, so it's not that shiny in terms of colors. Okay, so for example, Andalusia, I think, is the best example. If you go in May, it's very green. All those dehesas where they have the bulls and the porks is full of flowers and very green. If you go in October, it's after the summer and it's not that colorful anymore. So, but I understand that most of the people, they try or they choose to travel on at the end of the summer because they have all the summer to train and to cycle. And going on tour at the beginning of the season sometimes it's like harder, because if you live somewhere with a strong winter, it's not that easy to be fit on the bike.
Yeah.
Me personally, I would say spring, but
it's another pro for spring for sure. One question that Joan, you can answer is there was one question specifically, someone is obviously looking at this map very closely and realized there was a big hill getting in and out of Cadaqués. Do you want to explain our route in and out of Cadaqués briefly?
Well,
to
getting
the point
in,
that you had.
yeah, getting in is interesting because, I mean, I think that those hills, they look nastier than they are. That's the first thing. The way in, it's very gentle. So most of the people, I mean, we get to see how people are performing before getting there, and very few people end up getting the shuttle because it's not that long and it's not that steep. It's very gentle. So I would say that 90% of the people, they do the climb, even if at the beginning they are scared. And the way out, it's even better because we get out with the boat. So we just go around the cape. We get to see the cape from the ocean, and that's the way we get it flat. Because once we are in Roses, it's where we quit the boat. It's almost flat all the way to Figueras.
So that's the somewhat longer answer, Philip, to your question. We do ride in, but not on the whole hill to the north. The hill just, if you're looking at the map, it's the hill kind of to the west, I would say,
So
southwest.
we cut on the top, and we get to
and then we come down
the coast. Yeah.
And then on the way out, that's when we're taking the boat. We don't redo that hill. That was good. You're digging into that route, and I definitely feel free to ask us any specific questions like that. Even email us if you have other specific questions like that for anyone.
Well,
Carol, do you want to?
Well, why don't I just go ahead
pieces?
and mention a few other things here? And if another questions comes up, please don't hesitate to drop it into the chat. You'll see here, I just put into the chat a link for scheduling a call with one of our sales team to chat about any tour in Spain or any tour at all. The QR code here on the screen also takes you to that link, but if you want to do that through that link I put, you can schedule a 15-minute call, and we're happy to talk with you about anything. And what I want to do here in the I'll let let's talk about that
I can
question.
answer. Yeah, there was a good question about asking for elevation profiles. We're happy to send out elevation profiles for any trip you're looking at. We don't send the tracks specifically, but we'll send the profiles out for if you're any trip that you're looking at. Absolutely. Yeah, just send an email to info@experienceplus.com and tell us which trip you're looking at, which itinerary, and we'll be able to send you the elevation profiles. We have all of those that we often get that question and are happy to send that out.
Yeah, those will come to you as a PDF, all of the days together collectively on one page.
I would say don't get scared by the altitude profiles, because usually they look nastier than they are, and it is something
as
that
many
happens
of you know
so
who've been on trips.
Right, and the scale is not the same for every day, so that can also be tough to sort out sometimes.
But those of you who've looked at these before know that.
And I think we have improved through the years, because they used to look even nastier when there were those scales like this, like it seemed like a saw, and then when people they cycle through and say that was not that bad. Well, of course it was not that bad. It was just the altitude profile that seems more challenging. Yeah.
So this is the homepage, the photo that you'll see on the homepage of our website, which is experienceplus.com. The blue box here is our tour finder, and you can use this to put in any country that you're interested in, any date, month by the month of the year that you're interested in, the tour style, and also our tour levels. We've vaguely referred to those, but you can do a search right from our homepage. You can also, though, go into the headers, not up here, but you can search our bicycle tours by destination. And this page is what appears a pre-populated tour finder page for all the tours that are in Spain that you can connect to from our destinations section of our website. You can look at all of our tours by country, by style, by level. So it's a very friendly way to access tour information. And even better is that once you dive into a tour page, this happens to be the Bicycling Catalonia's Costa Brava Plus tour page. It's below the fold, so to speak. Our photo is up top here, but I wanted to point out that there are a couple of buttons that can be of use to you. The first one is if you are super interested in a tour, you can hold a space on any tour without any obligation. You can just click that button and it will ask you what departure date you're interested in, and ask you a couple of other questions, and you submit that form, and then we'll be in touch with you to let you know about the tour status, and as a way to keep in touch with you to gauge your interest. And then the other great thing you can do is download the itinerary for the tour, which basically it is a PDF that contains all of this juicy information that you see up above, from dates and pricing and booking, the full itinerary, all of our arrival and departure information. We give very detailed arrival and departure notices. And then you can also connect to photos from all of our tours that we've had through Photo Gallery. And so one other thing I'll just mention as a way to stay connected with us is that we do send out weekly email. We call it email blast. It features anything from a recipe to a new tour announcement to last week's email. We connected folks to an article about train travel. So we try to mix it up a lot and give you helpful information that's relevant to both planning your trip and to considering what you might want to do in the future, to sharing recipes from the road. So you can scan that QR code. You can also connect to, you can join our email list through the homepage of our website. And again, you can send any questions that you have to info@experienceplus.com. And in the couple minutes that remains, I'll just ask my colleagues if they have anything else that they want to say before we sign off, or if anybody has one last question.
Joan, do you want to
That's a great question. Joan, which tour would you recommend to a first-time Spain traveler?
I would definitively, the first-time traveler to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would. That's a kind of question that is. I'm just thinking of the different tours, and they all have something that will make it special. But I think that if you get into Spain for the first time and you really want to see this uniqueness, I think that would be probably Andalusia, because I think it's the more cultural shocking, because it's the area. I would say it's the area that is more different, even within for us, for Spaniards, is the area that is more different. So I think that's the one that probably attracts more, because there is this idea, of Spain, with the bullfighting and the flamenco and all that, and this is really only from Andalusia. And sometimes people, they come to Spain expecting something like that, and they go to Madrid. You can get some, maybe to Barcelona. This is not really local from there. The really place to get this, say, traditional perception that people have from Spain, it's Andalusia. So I would definitively recommend probably Andalusia.
Marielena, do you agree?
I was going to say, this whole debate could probably take us another whole hour.
At the end, it depends on what you're seeking for.
I know, it depends on what you're looking for, is the constant answer to all of our whatever.
Yeah, it's funny because that's actually one of the reasons what I don't recommend that tour, because I'm like, well, that's the Spain that is exported to us culturally, I think. And I'm like, oh, the Camino is like, you get to see a part of Spain that you don't even know exists.
I think I actually really liked Joan's answer, and I feel like that's a really good way of explaining this, how special Andalusia is. It really does have the heart of Spain, and it's its own uniqueness, and it's some of those pieces of Spain don't exist in other regions. But I would have probably said the Camino because I have a big bias towards the Camino. When I'm asked what my favorite tour is of all of our trips, I'll tell you all a secret. I hate to have a favorite trip, because of course all of our trips are great. I say the Camino when I'm really pressed. So maybe I'm biased for that. But the Camino has this incredible energy, and you're basically cycling through history. And it is very unique, though. I think that's one of the fascinating things about Spain. Even more than other countries, each region has retained so much of its culture that you you have to go to all of them to truly understand the
Right.
country. And even the ones we've shown don't give you the center of Madrid. The nice thing is you can go to Madrid either way when you're arriving and departing and spend a few days and really get to know Madrid as well.
You
So,
probably
Well,
will go through Madrid anyway.
yeah.
I'll say the
and
best food in
Barcelona.
Spain that I've ever had, though, was in Catalonia for sure, hands down. Restaurant de Nolot was phenomenal, but it is now 2 o'clock. We just want to respect everybody's time today, and we thank you so much for joining us. We really look forward to connecting with you if you have any questions, and please keep your eye out for future webinars with Experience Plus. We feel like this is a great format for us to be communicating about our tours. And if you agree, drop us a line and let us know what you thought of today's and what you'd like to see as we move forward. So thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time and
Thanks,
for joining.
Joan, for joining.
You're welcome.
Joan,
All
really
the way from
appreciate it.
Spain.